Well, any to close things off, any advice do you have any advice for new players, like based on your playtest experience? Any
Yeah.
tips?
Don't be afraid to jump into voice calls in the Discord if you see or ask anybody that's got like a green name or a purple name or something. Um, don't spam anyone, obviously, be kind. But if you have questions, jump into a voice call, make some friends. Don't quit first game. The Spectre aspect of the game, the duality aspect of the game takes a little while to get the hang of. You know, um, Ave talks about it all the time. Where in their press server, they have a hard time getting people past the first game because they don't understand how the duality works, and that's fair because no one's ever made a game like this. Let's see. I saw an ad for it somewhere in like last November. Um, I put in a application or a request to play and
Hmm.
didn't get into the first one. I kind of forgot about it, honestly. Just fired and forget, one of those things. And then in February, January, March, I want to say, I got an email saying, "Hey, you got in," uh, and I ended up playing. I've been playing ever since.
Nice. Can you walk
Yeah.
us through the core gameplay of Spectre Divide and how it stands out compared to other tactical shooters you played? Like, what unique elements caught your attention?
Well, I mean, aside from the obvious duality aspect, which is what the whole game is predicated around, I've talked extensively to a bunch of the devs about it and where they came from. And the guys at Mountaintop wanted to make a raw shooter where gameplay is king. They didn't like how everything was just 5v5, you had one life. A problem you get in tac shooters, especially like, the obvious two, Counter Strike and Valorant. Counter Strike, you have to stop to shoot. It's, 5v5, kind of, it can be boring for the people that aren't super technical, the more casual shooter gamers, which is why so many more people play Call of Duty because it's a run and gun kind of thing.
Hmm.
And the problem with Valorant is you have ultimate abilities and just so much stuff going on that it can be really chaotic. And also the fact that you have to stop to shoot. So they wanted to design a game where it was a little more forgiving for average players, but they still want to make a tag shooter. And aside, the duality is the biggest thing that stands out. I mean, it's 3v3, but really it's 6v6 because you have an extra body. And I mean, I've never seen a game do something like that before. So that's the most unique thing about the game, obviously. No
Yeah.
ultimates, which is huge. No like single ability that just kind of dictates how a round goes or doesn't go. You basically just have sponsors, which are, utility kits. Nothing, no one seems or feels too broken. It's all situational.
Yeah, I just want to
Uh,
add that, like what you said about the strafing, it almost feels like a breath of fresh air, like in a game that's a tactical shooter that incorporates like
yeah,
ADS into your strafe. Because a lot of these games I've been practicing counter strafing, and it's a whole different thing to it, like aiming and all that. And once you put in ADS and have it pinpoint accuracy, it just feels like so different to be able to walk at the same time and
yeah.
still be
The
accurate.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they did that on purpose. You don't lose shooting accuracy. You retain shooting accuracy when you ADS and moving in this game. So you can ADS down just like in Call of Duty. You can ADS down. You move slower, but your shots are always accurate. And then it takes away the desire or the need to think about,
Hmm.
cancel strafing. And
Yeah.
instead, you can focus just on your raw aim.
I also
Um,
want to bring this back to controlling the two bodies. So,
yeah.
how does the ability to control both your active body and your Spectre alter your approach to gameplay in Spectre Divide? What new strategies or tactics have emerged for you?
For me personally, I'm a W key gamer. I play Duelist and Valorant, and any MMO, I always play DPS, and any video game I play, I'm always, you know, running in, face tanking, face checking, everything. So, usually in a game, like Valorant, I play Neon, so I have to play off of my initiator, usually, to create the space so I can take it. Otherwise, if I die, well, I'm out a whole round.
Mm-hmm.
With Spectre, my strategy usually is I like Ghostlink. It's a sponsor where you get dupes. So think Mirage from Apex,
Yep.
and I will just spawn push with Ghostlink, or I'll play really aggressively through the middle of the map, and it allows me to do it safely, knowing that thankfully, if I can get one or two and then die, that's a worthy trade because I can just switch to my second body. So I can play a little more aggressively if I want to.
Mm-hmm.
The Spectre also counts as a radar. Think of a deadlock sensor. It goes off of sound, so footsteps, gunshots. So you can throw a Spectre anywhere on the map at like a choke point, like in mid, and then play with your active body. And when you hear Spectre Warning, it's a audible thing, you can just switch and take that fight. So you can do some really interesting things. Morgan has a smoke shift where you throw the smoke, your character's Spectre transports into the smoke. So if you're fast with it, you can just yoink it and you can get spawn kills and stuff. Honestly, it's pretty phenomenal what you can do.
Oh yeah. But based on the Spectre warning system, can you describe like what kind of strategies that you can use with the warning system to leverage against your opponents?
Yeah, so we all know certain maps, if you're attacking, are easier. There's certain sites that are easier to hit, right? And in Spectre, obviously, like any tech shooter, if you realize that the enemy team, let's say you're defending, the enemy team just pushes A on Metro constantly. They just hammer it. And they've done it for 4 or 5 rounds. Well, that's a lot because there's only 8 rounds. But let's say they do it for 3 rounds. First 3 rounds, they hammer A. You can stack all your Spectres onto that one site. Or if you're like, hey, there's one guy that likes to play through mid, you can throw a Spectre in a corner in mid where it'll pick up on his footsteps if he doesn't slow walk. You can obviously switch immediately between the two Spectres. And so you can like check on angles and areas of the map that you normally in like Valorant you would have no way to know if they're on B. You'd have to actively leave one player on B or set. And it's not like and in Valorant if if the Sentinel characters are too far away from their utility, most of them, they don't work.
Yeah, I love that about them. It's almost like you're using them as a drone and they could just
Yep.
pick up any motion that you put around them
Yep.
like a motion sensor and just tell you
Yep.
where to go or
It's
where they're
exactly what
going.
they are. You
Yeah.
can use them. There's certain points in certain maps, like on Skyway, where you can huck your Spectre over a wall into mid, and if you do it right, it'll put it in a spot where they can't wall bang you or shoot you. But now your Spectre's like in the middle of the map, and you just get immediate auditory pings on like where they are. And so you can do really aggressive stuff like that. For the newer players, it's a second life. There's certain parts of the map that you cannot get onto unless you have a puck, unless you have a Spectre. So if one of your bodies dies and the enemy's above you in certain parts of certain maps, there's no way for you to get up there. You have, to try to fight them. You have to shoot them from wherever you are.
Yeah, that goes
So,
into some of the more creative uses of the puck device. That I was gonna ask you about that, but that sounds like yeah, you can go on with that. Like there's some places that you can't actually access with it, right?
yep, yeah. Obviously, I mean, if like on Skyway is a good example. That's an open skybox map. Um, so there's no ceiling, and obviously they can't make all the objects the same height. You know, So if you were to throw a Spectre if you were just able to throw it anywhere, you could throw the Spectre on the highest point you could reach, and you'd have an angle into the whole map, you know? So there's obviously some angles and some things that you cannot um,
Yeah, it's hard to
Spectre up
attack.
onto.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just saw Ghost Tara ask there about controller support. I heard that there's no controller support right now, but they're going to be working towards it for console release.
Yeah, again, uh, guys, I'm not a mod or a dev, so I don't have all the answers when it comes to like what they're planning on doing for supporting. What I do know from what I've seen is they do have plans to implement it. We just don't know when.
Yeah,
And that's all I'll say on it because I don't want to give false information. But it will be a thing at some point.
some point in the future. Yeah,
Yeah, probably post launch.
I can't wait for controller support to be honest, because sometimes I could just sit back and just use my Steam Play and just chill on the controller. But
Yeah, it can be a lot of fun.
one thing I also want to ask you about, how do you handle the risk of your Spectre being vulnerable in a position while you're controlling your active body? Like, what strategies is there to mitigate this risk?
Well, obviously this is where map awareness comes into play, you know. Um because if you know where all the common angles are, you know, then you can put your Spectre in a safe spot where it's not going to get hurt. But there are certain angles that seem like a good idea, you know, but they can be mollied or naded from, you know, pretty much anywhere on the map. So, as far as how I go about dealing with the risk, it depends on how you want to play. There's parts of the map you could literally just leave your Spectre in spawn.
Yeah.
Like which is, you know, the furthest point on the map on any of the maps you could get to. And so it's up to you how risky you want to be.
Yeah. Sometimes I just make sure like I hide them that when they're crouching, because when you switch, they crouch and that they're just underneath cover. There's a lot of places that you can put them that I've yet to actually discover.
Yep.
But
Yep, true.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and also too, like the Spectres crouch when you're not using them, right? So there's
Mm,
certain angles where, like, you know, you can get your Spectre in a sneaky spot, and if they don't clear that angle, and you get the Spectre warning, and you switch to that Spectre, you can get a
oh
ton of
yeah.
kills. You know,
Oh
just
yeah,
because they don't clear your angle. So, you know, if
definitely.
you're in a 1v1 or something and you've got like a scummy little rat corner with your Spectre and they don't clear it and you switch to your other body and peel around the corner and get the kill, it's like that can be really fun. So,
Yeah, I personally done that one time. Like we were pushing onto B site and I just left my guy behind there in the back and somebody just they tried to flank us from mid and my guy was just there and I ended up getting a double kill just for free cuz I got the Spectre notification.
mm-hmm.
Just got lucky
Yeah.
at the right
So,
time.
yeah. So, I mean, it really comes down to map awareness, map knowledge. You know, where you put your Spectre kind of dictates how risky it is, you know?
Yeah.
If you forget where your Spectre is at and you go to try to, you know, push up through mid and you switch bodies accidentally and your body's just out in mid, chances
Yeah.
are probably gonna die.
100%. Um I don't know if you want to go into the buy system or should we just
Yeah.
okay.
Ask whatever you want, man.
All right. All right. So so for the buy system, what are your thoughts on the buy system, especially with the option to reposition yourself on the map during the buy phase? How does this feature enhance your preparation and overall gameplay?
Well, so I think the economy, they're still working out some kinks in the economy. Because it is a shorter match time. Certain guns, depending on, you know, what your score is, are more or less viable than others. As far as being able to move, but I think the way the economy works for where we're at right now. I don't know if they have any plans to do a major overhaul of the economy system, because if they did, it would change the whole game. And they really want to just focus on making the best shooter they possibly can and release it with as few of hiccups as possible. And to try to revamp a lot of the economy aspects of the game would make it very difficult to do that. So I suspect that we probably won't see any major changes to economy as far as, how much you gain, how much you lose, any of that stuff. As far as positioning goes in the buy round, I mean, it's just you can't go past the barriers, obviously, right? And so it kind of limits where you can go, but it also makes it pretty quick because there's only three people. So if you're in comms with your team, you can really quickly decide, hey, let's go A, and then you just pump all your Spectre bodies on A near the barrier, and then you can just communicate, and you have that much extra time to talk about strategy. Hey, your Ghost Link, go first, send a dupe, then wall Metro, like the map we're looking at now. Really common strategy is Ghost Link would dupe down mid where here in A, wall off the tram, Pinnacle would flash, and then you'd push out flood site. So being able to position your bodies instantaneously with left click, right click in the pre-round is really handy to just be able to quickly make and execute on strategies. It's also, I don't think there's no like single spot on any of the maps on either side where you can put your Spectre in the pre-round and you'll have an unfair advantage on everyone else. I will say that, not that I've seen. So I don't think it adds too much, as far as whether or not you win or lose, depending on where you put your Spectre in the pre-round, doesn't really dictate the map at all. It's just which site do you want to push faster or slower.
I see that. Yeah, it seems like it's always a guessing game when you're on the defending side, where they're gonna be, and you're trying to fan out. But it's always when they attack, you're gonna be at an advantage there. So moving,
Depending, yeah, depending.
Yeah, so
Go
moving
ahead.
on to the economic rewards and penalties. How do you feel
Right.
about the current economic rewards and penalties in Spectre Divide? Like managing your finances across different rounds to stay competitive, and the loss streak bonus. And how can you
Yeah.
describe the heavy shields granted from the 3 loss streak bonus impact your gameplay and decisions?
So there's the alpha testers, and we've found a few ways you can handle it. Since the match is shorter, right, you have less opportunity to correct if you lose a round, right? Which means rounds are worth more because there's less of them. Every team starts technically with a loss, financially, technically. So everyone starts even. As far as the heavy armor you get for free at round 3, one of the common strategies that we see pretty often is people won't buy anything round 1, right? So you'll save round 1, and then if you win, you just buy armor, medium armor, right? Because the other person lost. And then obviously if you go, if you get up 3-0, well then the enemy team now has free heavy armor. So what a lot of people will do, I've done it a few times with my teams, is we'll win the first 2 matches first 2 rounds with just light buys or no buys, and then we'll throw the 3rd round. And that'll deny the enemy team that 3-round loss streak to get that heavy armor. And they'll still be down financially, and we'll still be up. So we can either do a tier 3 or a tier 4, well, tier 3 buy with heavy armor, and still have a good chance of just coming out with stronger guns. So that's pretty common. Also, too, inversely, if you get up 3-0 and you did it where you're not spending a ton of money on guns and equipment, the rounds are pretty clean. You survive. You don't have to use all your util. You can come out of it, with tier 4 sometimes, especially if you save enough. And it's then at round 3, you've got tier 4, which with the Reaver, it's a 1-tap to the head, regardless of how much armor you have. And with the Blackout, it's 2 shots, I think, 2 or 3 to the head. Not to mention the fire rate. And then you also have the Crusader, which is a 2 or 3 shot to the head. So either way. But let's say that the rounds weren't clean. So you're up 3-0, but you've only won by 1 Spectre, essentially, every round, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then, your team still, like, you get round winning money, but you're kind of broke because you have to buy all your kit every time, and so then that enemy team gets up, 3, you're 3-0, they're 0-3, they get heavy armor, they've been saving, so they buy, they could buy tier 3 or tier 4 weapons and get heavy armor for free, so you could be at a disadvantage. So it really just depends on play style and skill level. I don't think it feels unbalanced. I don't think it feels unfair. I would say kind of the most cheesy strat would be that win 2 rounds, throw the third, and that's a really kind of scummy way to play. But right now, that's pretty common. Same thing on defense. If you're down 0-2, you want to lose that third round, because you get free armor. So it's almost better to go. You either want to win the first 3 rounds, lose the first 3 rounds, or you either want to win 2 and lose 1. So it kind of, pistol rounds are really important, especially if you win when you're light buying, obviously, but nothing feels super unfair or leaning one way or the other. I think the financial system works. It works for where the game's at. And I imagine they'll make some tweaks to it here and there. There's a lot of people have been having similar feedback to me as far as how they feel about the economy and which guns, are viable, because some guns don't feel viable. If you're down, some guns are expensive, and if you're behind, it doesn't make sense to. And some of the lower priced weapons aren't good enough to be, so they're going to have to do some tweaks and balances, and I'm sure as they add more guns eventually and more sponsors and whatnot, it'll change. But I think for where the game is at now, it's pretty easy to understand, it's not hard. It is a little different, though, because, again, the rounds are shorter. But I think once a lot of people get the hang of it, no one's going to have difficulty knowing when to buy, when to save. I mean, I'm not the most economically educated player. I don't care much about economy. It's like, do I have enough to buy a gun? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that.
And with the team inventory is cool too. Oh
yeah, the
team inventory is too cool because you can carry a gun into the next round. Our drops on here, when are they starting?
Oh, it's starting August 13th, Leah.
August 13th, and I don't quote me, but I think, let me check the news. Okay, it's just a showcase. I see that like Shroud and Tark and a bunch of other guys are streaming, and I thought maybe they might have some keys, but they don't.
Oh.
They're not dropping keys. But it's open beta the 13th. So.
Oh yeah, 13th. So stay tuned for that, guys.
Yeah, there'll be a community tournament. It'll be a lot of fun. I'll probably be casting in it.
Oh, nice. I'm gonna be
We'll
honest.
see.
I haven't thought about that tactic of the third rounds. But that's a pretty good one.
Leo, I got all requirements, but not the GPU. So play right. Dude, I'll be honest with you. I am not a gearhead. I have no idea.
I would say it depends on the GPU you have.
Yeah, it will really depend. I mean, the game. One of the reasons why the devs made it look the way they did is so that you can turn the graphics down and it can run on like spaghetti PCs. It's another reason why they developed it in Unreal Engine 4, well, a custom version of Unreal Engine 4 rather than Unreal Engine 5. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Obviously because they know Unreal Engine 4 more than they do 5. Intel RUG graphics 770. I mean, yeah, you could probably play it. You turn everything down, but it's gonna be real rough. You know what I mean? But you won't know until you try.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
I
say give it a
think
shot.
if you're, yeah, I think if you're in the, yeah, you obviously know what the requirements are for the game. So yeah, I mean, realistically, the graphics don't matter too much. You know, like I have a 4070 and I still play all my shooter games on the lowest possible graphic settings. You know,
Oh man. Get the max
so
FPS.
yeah, max FPS. I got a 4070 Ti. Don't use it.
I mean, that's basically getting your money's worth, getting the max FPS from it. As gamers, that's all I
Yeah,
want, to be honest.
yeah. I'm a filthy casual, so for me, it's more like I also like enjoying the visuals of the game. So
Yeah.
I actually have my, all jokes aside, I have my graphics settings on Spectre maxed out because I think the game looks really nice, and I don't care if I lose half a frame or something like that personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, Leo, you should be fine.
And it helps them test it too when we try all the settings.
Yep,
So,
for sure. I mean, honestly, if you're Leo, if you're in the Discord and you're trying to play it on, come here next week and you're going, send feedback, man. Like, hey, I'm playing on a UHD 770. And this is what I'm finding out. And they can be like, well, we have no intention of ever helping you because it just doesn't make sense. Or they could be like, wow, that's interesting. Okay. And then who knows? Maybe they are able to make it so that you can play on a lower graphics card like that. I have no idea. I will say that the devs, if the feedback is, if there's enough of it and it is well said and makes sense, they generally do a phenomenal job of implementing it right away. So don't be afraid to go into the feedback channel in the Discord if you're in it once we play. And, don't just go in there to complain, but if you have a legitimate, good quality feedback and they get enough of it, they will implement it. They already have.
it's pretty quick of them to address things.
Right. Well, when you got there's only 80 developers and most of them work remotely.
Hmm.
So small team, means you can get things done faster. They're also self-published. They're self-publishing. They're crowdfunded, so they don't have to run every decision by a board of directors or an investor, or a publisher company that wants them to make the game a certain way. They have 100% full reign, full freedom to do whatever they want to their game. And conversely, it makes it difficult because they only have 80 people to work on a game and implement changes that, potentially, thousands and thousands of people are going to be playing. So it's a big ask, So I would say just be patient with them too. It's a new company, a small team, and they'll do it. They'll do what they can to make it. As my friend Av says, Ave, he every time I ask him, he goes, "Yeah, we want to make a game where gameplay is king. Shooting is king in this game. That's all they. That's their main focus."
Well, any to close things off, any advice do you have any advice for new players, like based on your playtest experience? Any
Yeah.
tips?
Don't be afraid to jump into voice calls in the Discord if you see or ask anybody that's got like a green name or a purple name or something. Um, Don't spam anyone, obviously. Be kind. But if you have questions, jump into a voice call, make some friends. Don't quit first game. The Spectre aspect of the game, the duality aspect of the game takes a little while to get the hang of. You know, Ave talks about it all the time. Where in their press server, they have a hard time getting people past the first game because they don't understand how the duality works, and that's fair because no one's ever made a game like this before. So be patient, have fun. Don't lose your beta key by being toxic, either in game or in the Discord. That's my best thing. Second biggest piece of advice: don't spam the devs. If you see someone people asking a question repeatedly, don't ask the question. Just wait. You'll get a response. When it comes to choosing which sponsor to use, shooter preference, man. If you think it looks cool, play it. The easiest one, in my opinion, is Pinnacle because it just has a frag grenade and a flash grenade. And it's got a self heal, so it's really intuitive for anyone that's used to shooters. And let's see what else. Yeah, that's best advice I can think of.
That was awesome. And last, do you have any feedback for Mountaintop?
Oh, dude, all my feedback
It's
I've
in the
already
feedback
said.
channel.
It's in the feedback channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say my biggest thing, and it's an inside joke. You'll probably hear it if you watch the tournament, and I'm casting with everybody else. There's these barrels on Skyway where you can vault up onto the barrels, and because the barrels are high enough, it puts your character model chest height above the ledge so it looks like you should be able to vault up to get on top of where that bridge is, but you can't. Yeah, drop. So on the back end of drop on the
like before drop.
on the attacking side. Yeah, on the attacking side. You know how you put your Spectre up on the bridge?
Yeah. The
Yeah,
barrels
those
before you can stand up there and see over to B main.
Yeah. So on the attacking side of the map, when you're going down when you're going down to get to drop on B side, there's these barrels on the side of the walkway, basically the catwalk, and you can mount up onto those barrels. And your character model is like way higher than the ledge, so logically you would think you would be able to just vault up onto it, and you can't. And it irks me
Yeah.
because I'll be flanking and I want to get up into, I want to vault up onto drop, and I can't because it's unmountable. And so my biggest piece of feedback that's so small it doesn't matter, but it's a running joke now is make that mountable or take the barrels away.
Yeah.
Or make the barrels shorter to where it wouldn't make sense for your character to be able to vault up on top of it.
Man, I'm glad you pointed that out because I thought I was the only one that noticed that little thing there. And then I always thought that they put that there for a reason. And I thought
Nope.
that the reason they put that there was so that you can peek over and see if there's anyone in B main, or if you're flanking or something.
Mm-hmm. No, you can't even see down into B main from it. You're not tall enough. But you are tall enough to look down at the ledge and be like, hey, I should be able to vault up this, and you just can't.
Oh, sorry, I meant jump peek.
Oh, jump peek. Yeah, I guess you could jump peek it, and that's a viable strat too. But I've been telling them forever, look, either take them off or make it mountable, or make the catwalk higher. I don't know.
Yeah, it's I was thinking if it was mountable, that would be cool too.
Yeah,
Because
it'd allow you to
getting onto
flank
drop,
up onto. Yeah, it'd allow you to flank behind them up on the drop, which would be huge.
yeah, that's a whole different That's a whole different play right there.
Yeah.
Well, that was awesome, Swaginborn. Thanks for coming in, dropping by, and letting me do this interview with you.
Yeah, dude, of course, man. Anytime. If I see any of you guys in the Discord or anything, don't be strangers.